The irony is not lost for the people who live on or near this road that last night was anything but.
Wayne said, "I hear thunder," and I said, "No, you hear a roar."
Glenda and Wayne Sappington, along with 11-year-old Lizzie, got into their storm shelter around 11:30. And when they came out,
found out the shop building was gone, storage building gone, fifth wheel was sitting right here where we're at.
And that end of the house, we lost roof, and the bedroom is just no ceiling to it at all.
just down the road,
It was roaring. It was just a loud roar, and I could feel everything shaking.
Janet Hancock has some roof damage and a sycamore tree that looks completely naked.
Yeah, and that used to be huge. It was one of the tallest trees in the neighborhood, and it just pretty much stripped it of all the branches.
And just down the street from her,
Thankful to be alive.
Kara Kroll felt the whole house move as the tornado slowly rolled through the area.
It roared, and you could feel everything slamming and banging and moving, and then it got silent. And I was like, I don't think this is over. In a few minutes, it started roaring again.
Wherever you look, roof damage is hard to miss.
We just try to get to as many people as we can as fast as we can.
Wilson Newman was up on the Sappingtons' house assessing damage and prepping to tarp.
What we do is we come out and, everyone that we can help, as many people as possible, putting tarps on the roof, getting everything dried in, because it's, if it rains again, you don't want any, weather getting inside of the attic or causing any problems.
The Sappingtons have been flooded with calls of concern. Their outlook?
I've always seen people interviewed and they said, we can replace things, we're alive, that's the main thing. That's exactly right. That's exactly the way we feel.
And as for Lizzie,
I wish she'd roll over on her back like she does a lot of times, just lays on her back. There she goes.
her outlook is apparently in keeping with the name of the street, no matter what.
I don't want to make the highlight reel.
Burt Mumolo, News Channel 8.
In Claremore, the road behind me is closed due to downed power lines. I've even seen damaged buildings and houses. One homeowner whose house and property was heavily damaged by last night's tornado shared with me what this experience has been like.
My husband had just bought a storm shelter, had it installed about 3 weeks ago.
Clarice Doyle, a Claremore resident, says that after following the storm on television, they went into their new shelter to take cover.
We had just barely gotten into the shelter, shut the door, and it just exploded around us. And it was trees popping and tin snapping and grinding, and then there was a lot of roaring. And then it was over.
Doyle says that after they got out, they saw that the porch was gone and they could see the damage done to their shop.
It was dark and it was kind of raining, and you could see that the house had been hit.
Doyle says she's feeling mixed emotions right now.
You've lived in a home for a long, long time, and we've built onto it. We've raised 3 children in it and 4 grandchildren and a son-in-law. So it kind of is emotional because you've kind of lost something, but at the same time, it's really gratifying to see how the community responds.
She says that neighbors, volunteers, and family members have come to help clean up.
I'm just thankful, I really am, to have family and to know that when something happens, they respond. And know you have a community that responds.
She says that right now they're waiting on their insurance company to call so they can get started on rebuilding.
This is our family home, so we're not planning to go anywhere.
The City of Claremore says the Public Works Department is working with the county to come up with a debris removal plan, saying that they don't have a public place for people to bring their debris to yet, but they're working on it. We'll have any updates on storm damage and cleanup right here on News Channel 8. In Claremore, Ryan Stockett, News Channel 8.
Cleanup efforts are still underway in Claremore and Rogers County after a tornado left a trail of destruction Saturday night. News Channel 8's Ryan Stockett joins us now with an update on what local officials are doing to help those affected residents. Ryan.
Brenna, today Rogers County held a press conference where they covered a variety of storm-related topics, including storm cleanup and resources that are available for residents and Congressman Josh Burkeen was there at the meeting. He shared his remarks, and then they toured the areas that were impacted by the storm.
Trying to make sure these people are taken care of.
An update on services available to Claremore residents who were impacted by the tornado Saturday night.
We're trying to get our citizens all the services they need, and we're working towards that right now.
Services ranging from providing basic needs like food and water to cleaning up the areas impacted.
We're picking up brush everywhere right now and trying to get, the roads are open.
Last we reported they were developing a public disposal and pickup plan. While there still isn't a public disposal site available, the city and county is asking residents to stack green waste debris, such as tree limbs and brush, in lengths of 10 feet or less next to the road for pickup. On top of those services, the county says they're also trying to restore electricity in some areas.
They don't have any electricity in a lot of places, but we're getting in the areas where where the lines are out of our way, where we can get into them, and we're there right now.
After the press conference, Congressman Josh Burkeen shared remarks.
Our hearts go out to everyone that's impacted, the individuals, the churches, the businesses, and it's sad, you know, for Oklahoma. This is not just the first event this year.
Then they toured areas that were hit by the tornado, including the area next to the Will Rogers Downs Casino. While there, I spoke with someone who was helping clean up after his sister's house was destroyed by the tornado.
My only real emotion that I was feeling at the time was, you know, a little bit of panic and a very strong urge to just make sure she's actually okay.
To his relief, his sister's family was okay.
It's relief and a little bit of sorrow, because you know, this is their home.
We'll have a full list of resources for residents on our website, KTUL.com. Live in Claremore, Ryan Stockett, News Channel 8.
Several horses at the Cherokee Casino and Racetrack were severely injured during the storms. News Channel 8's Mackenzie Richmond has more on the damage there.
The Cherokee Casino Will Rogers Downs took a direct hit from the tornado that passed through east from downtown Claremore to Pryor on Saturday night, and the facility itself sustained significant damage. 140 campers were staying overnight in the RV park here at the Cherokee Casino, and a majority of them were evacuated and taken to a storm shelter ahead of the tornado touching down in Claremore. Thankfully, no severe injuries were reported, but there was significant loss to their properties. Campers were on their sides or upside down, windows were shattered, and belongings were scattered.
It's been an emotional day yesterday for a lot of those campers that were going through their belongings and stuff, but one of the most important things is that, you know, no severe injuries were reported, and it's really just an unfortunate situation for those guests.
As for the casino, the facility did take some hits. It also lost power and water, but the most significant damage was to the horse stables and the grandstand arena. 10 out of the 14 horse stables endured significant damage. There were 200 horses at the racetrack at the time the tornado hit. Reports by Horse Racing Nation show at least one horse died after the tornado struck. Others did sustain minor injuries. But Danielle Barber, the executive director of the Thoroughbred Racing Association of Oklahoma, told Horse Racing Nation, quote, she's very thankful. It could have been a lot worse. The other horses were moved to the Fair Meadows in Tulsa, where they're now being cared for and treated. Now, cleanup and recovery efforts are underway right now, as there's no timeline, though, as to when the power and water will be back up and running at the Cherokee Casino Will Rogers Downs. From Claremore, Mackenzie Richmond, News Channel 8.
And residents are now working to clear up debris and rebuild. News Channel 8's Lauren Henry joins us now live after speaking to those affected by the storms. Lauren.
Brenna, just a few minutes from downtown Claremore, you will see power lines down and massive trees uprooted, much like the one right next to me. And I was out in the community earlier today, and as people are working to clear the debris, many told me they've been without power since Saturday and are unsure about when it will get restored. Lights at most of the intersections in Claremore aren't working. Massive trees and their limbs litter the yards where the tornado touched down, and the people are left picking up the pieces.
Trees everywhere, power lines. Across the street here where this tree is down, a gas line actually it blew and it was leaking gas the other night. With that, there's also the winter utilities going to come back on.
About a mile away at the Russell home, volunteers work to remove multiple tree limbs from the roof.
We could hear the wind howling outside, and then the lights went out, and a few minutes later I heard this horrendous crashing noise, that tree limb hitting the roof. Well, there were actually 3 of them up there, and one of them came through it, punctured the roof, and came through the ceiling.
As the cleanup and rebuild efforts continue, the Red Cross has set up shelters and resource centers around Claremore.
Right now we're in the stage of our relief operation where we're meeting people's immediate needs for shelter, food and water, supplies, things like that. And then as we get going through the recovery process, we'll be available to help people with paperwork they might have for insurance claims. We'll be able to connect them with other recovery resources. And in some cases, we may be able to provide financial assistance to people as well.
And residents shared with me that they understand this cleanup effort is going to take some time, but they're hopeful that they will have power restored by the end of this week. And for more information about the Red Cross or the resources and shelters that they have in place, you can visit our website at KTUL.com. Reporting in Claremore, Lauren Henry, News Channel.
Well, the Claremore community is getting some much-needed help this morning after a devastating tornado from over the weekend.
Good Day Oklahoma's Mackenzie Richmond joins us live now from the Reesers. Mackenzie, they're providing free water and hot meals to those impacted by the storm.
Yeah, Shelby Wayne, it really is the Oklahoma standard going on here right now. Reesers actually deployed their community kitchen, as you can see going on here behind me right now as we speak, to support the community here in Claremore after the devastating tornado that blew through their city and destroyed much of what they knew over the weekend. Now, starting right now, actually, take a look behind me. Folks can start getting in line here in the parking lot of the Reesers along Will Rogers Boulevard in Claremore for a free hot breakfast. We are just 2 minutes past the time that they opened up, and we've already seen about half a dozen people come and grab their free hot breakfast. Now, the meal includes a breakfast patty sausage with biscuits, pastries, and fruit, but only while supplies last. There is enough food to serve 700 folks. Yesterday, though, they served over 1,000. The research team will be serving the community via a drive-through in the store parking lot, so you don't even have to get out of your car. In addition to the free hot breakfast, there is some water and ice they will be handing out while supplies last. There are also a few community updates that we should be aware of. About 65% of power has been restored to the Claremore area, though the hardest hit areas are still without powers. Of course, crews are working around the clock to repair the damage there. The city of Claremore and Rogers County will continue the 10 p.m. to 6 in the morning curfew through June 1st to allow emergency responders to continue to repair and recover. As residents and crews work to clean up the debris, though, city and county officials are requesting that residents stack their green waste debris, such as tree limbs and brush, in lengths of 10 feet or less next to the road for easy pickup. But do make sure to keep that debris away from any gas or water lines. Now, there is no current public disposal site available, though they are working on developing a plan. As for the trash routes, they will continue on their normal days. However, heavily impacted areas with severe damage will not have service. Now, for your safety, those emergency responders and law enforcement are asking you to please not drive around the emergency vehicles or emergency barriers, as they are there for your safety. And while it may be the easier route for you to get to your work or wherever you may be going today to drive around it, please avoid that for your safety and find an alternate route. Now, for any other community updates regarding those resources and recovery efforts going on here in the city of Claremore, you can find the latest on that at claremore.com/weather alerts. Reporting live from Claremore, Mackenzie Richmond for Good Day Oklahoma.
And the curfew is in place, and that's to prevent looting, according to the Rogers County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Scott Walton says Claremore police actually arrested someone who was attempting to loot in the area.
Claremore Police Department was able to proactively grab a guy that had established a plan there that he was going to bring some to of his colleagues to perform that act of looting. So he's in jail.
Kobe Thompson was arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit burglary. This is his mugshot right here on your screen. Authorities say Thompson allegedly had a home picked out that he thought contained firearms and other valuable items. He's suspected of dozens of burglaries in the Claremore and Rogers County area.
The Billy Graham Rapid Response Team is helping out in areas hit by tornadoes over the weekend, like Claremore and Northwest Arkansas. The Billy Graham team says that it trains and deploys followers of Christ to minister to spiritual needs of people dealing with the crisis. Chaplains are now providing emotional and spiritual support in 6 locations. Along with Bentonville and Claremore, chaplains are also in Texas, Iowa, and Florida.
We know that they're hurting, and so we come alongside them and listen to their stories. We pray with them, and we try to help them where they're at to move forward.
The group is based out of Tyler, Texas.
It's hard to explain. It's hard to comprehend knowing what it looked like before versus the house that used to sit over there is now in pieces behind us.
A family that moved to Pryor about 2 years ago from Washington State took a direct hit in their trailer home from the tornado in Pryor Saturday night. Now that home as they knew it sits hundreds of feet away from its original spot. A family of 5, a mother, a father, a teenager, and 2 younger children. Adam Lee's mother also lived with them, and when the tornado was heading their way,
My husband was actually watching it, and he actually called his cousin and told him, he said, hey, it's at the Racino. It's headed right for us. He goes, get everybody in the shelter, and he immediately hung up with him and started trying to get everybody in the shelter.
But before Adam could get everyone into the shelter, the wind carried him into the yard and he passed out. He woke up looking for his kids, his wife, and his mother. In that tornado, Tana, his wife, and his mother, Linda Lee, both died. Before his mother died, the father found the kids under his mother's arms as she screamed for help.
The little boy, he's just bumps and bruises. The little girl's got a broken leg and had to have some stitches. And the teenager, she's got some pretty significant injuries.
Okay. Is there any life-threatening injuries?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Thanks, Kevin. Turning now to the cleanup efforts in Rogers County. Officials there providing another update on storm relief efforts in Claremore. News Channel 8's Ryan Stockett has been in Claremore all day, and he joins us live to share with us some of the ongoing efforts. Ryan?
CJ, earlier today I attended a press conference where they covered various storm-related topics such as storm cleanup, power restoration, and available resources for residents. I also spoke with a resident who is now looking for a new place to live after her house was totaled by the storm.
We're getting all of the brush out, helping the people.
A press conference covering storm-related topics like storm cleanup.
We do not have the green waste set up for the public, that we are requesting that stuff gets put at the curb, and our county folks and our city folks are coming and picking that up from the curb. They will be back through.
And available resources for residents impacted by the storm. Matt Trotter with American Red Cross says they have a shelter open at First Baptist Verdigris.
People can come there if they need a safe place to sleep. They can also come there if they need meals, supplies, any other Red Cross services.
They also spoke on efforts to restore power in parts of Claremore.
We hope to be wrapped up soon.
Rogers County says just under 300 utility poles were damaged in the storm. I spoke with one resident who was awakened Saturday night when parts of a utility pole flew into her bedroom.
This transformer crashed through the window, just causing extreme sound like an explosion, and which of course jolted me awake.
Carla Brindley says this wasn't the only damage her house took during the storm.
It completely took off the roof. It knocked the house about 6 inches off its foundation.
Brindley says the storm also tore open the ceiling.
The house will have to be demolished because everything's 6 inches off now.
Brindley says she's now looking for a new place to live.
This is not the first time that God saved me from a near death. So at this point I'm thinking, you know, there might be something special he wants me to do.
Brinley says she and her two dogs who were in the house when it got struck by the tornado, they were able to make it out safely without any serious injuries. Live in Claremore, Ryan Stockett.
Well, communities across Oklahoma have been affected by tornadoes, but the Sooner State, have we seen more tornadoes this year than in previous years? News Channel 8's Lauren Henry asked this question to some meteorologists, and she's live now with what she's learned. Lauren?
TJ, our News Channel 8 meteorologist Colton Williams tells me that this year hasn't broken a record when it comes to the number of tornadoes that have occurred so far, but we are seeing higher numbers when it comes to the yearly average. According to the National Weather Service, the number of tornadoes that have impacted Oklahoma up to this point is higher than the yearly average.
Normally, we see 58 for the entire year. So here we are already with 100, so obviously we are well above normal.
Based on data from the National Weather Service, only 7 years have had more tornadoes than 2024 since 1950, and only 2 of those years have had more tornadoes to date. Stephen Piltz, the meteorologist in charge at the NWS, shared his insight on the storms so far.
This year we're seeing stronger tornadoes, and unfortunately they're impacting communities more head-on. 2019 was actually a pretty big tornado year. We think a lot about the flooding from 2019, but we also had a lot of tornadoes, but they tended to be weaker and not so much into communities.
The current record is held by 2019 with a recorded 149 tornadoes, but 2024 isn't that far behind. Data shows that this is also the first year since 2013 that Oklahoma has been hit with more than one EF4 tornado.
You go back to 2019, which was the most active year on record. We had 149 tornadoes, but no EF4s or EF5s. Now, again, all tornadoes are bad for sure, but we didn't have any of those big, violent tornadoes. This year, we've already seen 2 EF4s.
Those 2 EF4 tornadoes hit the Oklahoma communities of Barnsdall and Marietta.
Eastern Oklahoma is used to having strong to violent tornadoes. That's something that's just been a part of our history forever, really. But we haven't had these stronger, higher-end tornadoes for a number of years now, and so this is a return back to old-fashioned Oklahoma Springs.
And storm season is winding down, but both meteorologists tell me that there is a chance Oklahoma could see more tornadoes before this year's over. Reporting live in studio, Lauren Henry, News Channel 8.